Okay, so you can see up on my screen now, the Paralegal Power Break eDiscovery 101. Now, in this particular session, eDiscovery is huge. I mean, it's a huge body of knowledge. There's a lot of information to go over. There's no way possible in 15 minutes I can even scratch the surface. But this session is really just provided to give you some general information about eDiscovery. eDiscovery is the accumulation of digital evidence or digital information for use in litigation, evidence that's used in a case, civil or criminal case. Digital evidence can be found in a variety of forms. So digital evidence will, in a few, talk about what forms you can find it in and on what devices. The methods used to acquire digital evidence can determine its effectiveness and its admissibility in court, because this information it has to be removed from different devices, and taking information from electronic devices can be really tedious, and it can cause damage to that information, which can affect it being able to be admitted into court and used as evidence. So anyone that's collecting that has to be really careful and follow strict guidelines in order to make sure that that evidence can be admitted into court and case. There's different tools that can be used for eDiscovery. There's different stages in eDiscovery. Some tools assist with various stages, like collecting. We also have phases that for reviewing the information, and you have some systems that allow you to work on different phases. Some systems that allow you to work on reviewing information or collecting the information. Now, there's cost and time considerations that affect what tool the company may use, because eDiscovery, just think of a case, a typical case, litigation case, let's say it's an employment discrimination case. And in that particular case, there are different, let's say it's a huge company, there's emails that are being pulled from different employees, managers, there may be mobile devices, computers that are used at home, laptops, tablets. So just collecting the information can be very time-consuming as well as reviewing it. So companies will look at that when they're deciding what system to use. Now, the eDiscovery is the actual process of applying traditional legal discovery to electronic evidence. So if you're familiar with litigation, there is a phase of litigation called the discovery phase. This phase is used to collect evidence that will be used in a case. And so you have different methods to collect this information. You have one is the request for production of documents, which is a discovery request that's used to obtain documents. So with eDiscovery, you're specifically focusing on electronic evidence while using the traditional legal discovery process. So you really have to know about the discovery process as well as technology when you're working on eDiscovery. Electronic evidence, it includes any electronically stored information, which in short is often referred to as ESI. So this can include documents, emails, pictures, web pages, and databases. Now that seems not a lot. You know, think of old emails, old pictures, web pages, but think of all the places, maybe an example of a case, an employment discrimination case, if someone is browsing, you know, someone is a digital forensics person, eDiscovery specialist is looking at a person's computer and looking at the different sites that they browse, looking in their cache, their cookies to see what websites they went to. That can take a lot of time. Databases, you know, what systems are being used. Documents, you know, this would include PDF documents, Word documents, maybe PowerPoint that are slides or presentations. I mean, it could just think the size limit. Just think of all the types of documents, emails, pictures, any type of electronic information. This information can be found on different devices. You can find it on hard drives, cell phones, DVDs, CDs, laptops. You find it on tablets. So in essence, eDiscovery is a form of data mining. A lot of companies use this to collect information about their customers and vendors. It allows them to market to their customers better. So eDiscovery is a form of data mining, but it includes and encompasses so much more. Now, digital forensics. This is not the same as eDiscovery. This is a scientific method. Now, a digital forensics person may be involved in a case as well as an eDiscovery specialist, but they're doing different things. The digital forensics person is dealing with using a scientific method for extracting data or evidence from a digital device or an active network. So a digital forensics specialist or person would only be focused on one aspect of eDiscovery. They're looking at pulling this information from those different devices that I just mentioned, where eDiscovery specialists would be involved in that, overseeing that process, but also reviewing the information that's collected, determining whether it fits in the criteria, determining whether information is confidential, privileged information. So an eDiscovery specialist would focus on more than what a digital forensics person would. Now, the field of digital forensics is divided into two specialties. You have device forensics. This is where existing files, deleted files, hidden files, and encrypted data is actually retrieved. So any information, if a person is working on a case, they're extracting information from these different devices from different places, even files that have been deleted. Now, network forensics, this deals with network intrusion and hackers. If you didn't have a chance to listen to yesterday's session, you want afterwards, again, you'll be taken to a link to the page, Paralegal Power Break. You'll have access to all the past and sessions that we have coming up in the future. Take the time to listen to yesterday's as well as look at the slides, because it talks about where ransomware, where cyber criminals were targeting law firms. And it talks a little bit about hacking and network intrusion, so you may want to listen to that actual video to give you more information about that. But a digital forensic person could focus or specialize in device forensics or network forensics, where the network forensics is dealing with network intrusion and hackers, and the other one is dealing with extracting information from the different devices. Now, what exactly is that digital evidence? We talked about how it is documents and emails. It's any data or files in a digital format that would pertain to a civil or criminal complaint. So this is actual evidence. This is where during that eDiscovery process, it's narrowing down to specific information, because when you're doing eDiscovery, that's the tediousness about eDiscovery. You're collecting all the information. It's like, if you are familiar with traditional eDiscovery, it's, let's say, for instance, a file. Let's think of a file room, and a company, all their files are being searched to determine whether they did or did not do a certain thing for every client that they have. So all of the files are being reviewed. Every file in the file cabinet. Well, some of those files may meet the criteria, some of the files may not. Same thing with eDiscovery. When you're pulling the information, it's really reviewing it to say, does this meet the criteria, whatever that criteria may be, or does it not? That means that all that information has to be reviewed. So the evidence is what meets that criteria. That's what's going to be used. That's what's pertaining to a civil or criminal complaint. That then becomes evidence in a case. Now, cameras, watches, fax machines, copiers, and phones are examples of devices that may contain electronic storage devices with digital evidence stored on them. So think of all kinds of digital devices and electronic information or evidence to be stored on them. That can be used in a civil or criminal case. Emails, exchanges, text messages, logs, instant messages, and other forms of digital communications may also hold evidence. So all those different places, devices, and all of those different places can be used or have access or have information that can be used in a criminal or a civil case. Now, there are factors that affect collecting this evidence. Now, in a civil case, evidence is acquired by issuing what's called a request for production of documents. What happens with this is one company requests physical or electronic documents, and then the other company will produce them, or the other party involved. Now, in criminal cases, it requires strict adherence to chain of custody. This is done to ensure that the evidence hasn't been tampered with or altered in any way, and it requires the use of search warrants and subpoenas. So in a civil case, in order to obtain this information, the correct device that would be used would be a request for production of documents. In a criminal case, what would be used would be a search warrant or a subpoena. Now, in digital forensics, what happens is this: a forensic image of a hard drive is taken, and what this allows the investigator to do would be to retrieve deleted files, deleted emails, file fragments, and other information to determine whether this information can be used for evidence. Now, because hard drives are increasing in size, live acquisitions are common. This is done while the machine is running. There are different laws. I mentioned in the beginning, and we're getting to the end, so I'm going to briefly go over the laws. But if you're working in eDiscovery now, or plan on working in eDiscovery in the future, this is a great place to go to start familiarizing yourself with the different rules pertaining to eDiscovery. We have U.S. eDiscovery laws. You can find these in the Federal Rules of Civil Procedures. You also have laws such as the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which handle the way or govern the way that corporations preserve data. You have the Federal Rules of Evidence that deals with collecting evidence in civil and criminal cases. Then you have the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure as well. Now, as far as international eDiscovery laws, you have the UN Model Law, which was created to address e-commerce investigations. So, those purchases that are done online, and a lot of times these purchases online are crossing international borders. Then you have other countries such as Canada and members of the European Union who have similar rules and procedures for governing eDiscovery. Good place to go. The donor principles. You have a site, the donor conference, where you can go to and research. They have a lot of information, good information about eDiscovery. Now, the donor principles are 14 rules that can be used to help mitigate costs and preserve evidence in eDiscovery cases, which is really, really helpful because eDiscovery is said to be the most expensive aspect of litigation. So any way to be able to cut down on those costs is really, really helpful. If you're working in a law firm and you're working or if you're not in a law firm, but if you're an eDiscovery specialist, it's really important to be able to help to keep those costs down because those costs can get out of control, and in court they actually can be contested if they just get ridiculous. A judge may or another party can contest those costs. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this particular session up. I hope that it was useful. I hope that it provided you with at least enough information about eDiscovery to start you on your way to researching the laws. I provided some places, sources that you can go to, federal as well as international. And if you're interested in learning more about eDiscovery, here on the bottom here, there is a link. And you'll be directed to the site and slides afterwards, where you can go and purchase the book, the eDiscovery, Introduction to digital evidence from engaged learning. So thank you for your time. I'm going to wrap this session up. If you want to register for tomorrow's session, visit our site, rainmakersonline.com, go to the blog, and go to the Paralegal Power Break category. Tomorrow's session will talk about all you need to know about metadata and what that is and how that has to do with eDiscovery as well. Thank you for your time, and have a great rest of your day.